can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blur Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, I'm going to be talking about Bishop War College number 5 by Jay Holtham and Sean Damian Hill. So when last I talked about Bishop War College, that was the issue where we got the bigger reveal of Earth 63 and the all-new all-black X-Men, as I like to call them. But getting away from that and some of the craziness that happens there, you know, because we didn't really do a video for that issue, but in that particular instance is that the reason why Bishop could not find his version of Dr. Heather Tucker, the tempo of Earth 616 on Earth 63, is because she was standing right in front of him. Dr. Heather Tucker had taken up the identity of the Dr. Heather Tucker of her universe, having knocked her out and taken her place. In the previous video, I didn't really talk about this because at the time, I didn't really know what to think of it, but I was quickly reminded that Bishop has what I guess you could call a chrono-eidetic memory. It's something I've talked about in a video explaining Bishop as a character, how it doesn't matter what Earth he's on in the multiverse or what time period he's in, Bishop always seems to know exactly where he is and when he is at all times, and you can technically apply that to people as well, which is why in Bishop War College number 3, he accused Dr. Heather Tucker of Earth 63 of being his Earth 616 Dr. Heather Tucker. It's because he could look at her and tell. It's just a thing that Bishop can do, and if you want to know more about it, I have a video completely breaking all that down. But in this issue, it is revealed that Bishop was in fact right. And this was all done as an effort so that she could spend more time with her father. Her father in the Earth 616 universe was very much dead. Over the course of her publication history, we never knew who her father really truly was. He never had a name. We never really knew exactly who he was. But in this particular instance, as he was working with Heather at the clinic to help mutants, Tempo in this universe was pretending to just be a normal human, but in reality, she was still the mutant we all knew and loved. However, she just wanted to have more time with her father, and in this universe, he's still alive. So she saw this as an opportunity to get that time back with her father that she never got to have in her own universe. Now, of course, he's killed in the explosion that's caused by the Human Liberation Front, and this sends Tempo over the edge to the point that she has been using her power to try to turn back time far back enough that she can save his life, and all she is doing is making everyone repeat those last few moments over and over and over again, keeping everyone in a temporal loop. She's unable to push herself back far enough in time to change any of this, no matter how many times that she tries. As of late, Tempo's powers have been evolving over the course of her publication history. Up until she joined Steve Orlando's Marauders, Tempo's powers were very local. She could either speed up time, or she could slow down time, or almost completely stop time, but only for brief moments. While Tempo's powers have been evolving, they haven't evolved to the point that she could just willy-nilly time travel whenever she chooses. This is why she's stuck in a loop of reliving those last few moments of her father being killed, as well as everyone else being killed over and over and over and over and over again. The X-Men of that Earth are reliving those exact same moments as well because they have had losses on their side as well, namely characters like Cyclops. This is why Heather is unable to actually send them back in time until she finally decides to listen to reason and use the Blight Swill. The Blight Swill typically robs mutants of their mutant powers, but in the case of Tempo, which I think is actually the bigger story here that no one is really talking about, is that something that would typically rob a mutant of their mutant capabilities and turn them off, as we've seen with the other characters in Bishop's War College, characters like Amass and Surge, as well as Armor and Aura Charles. All of these other characters lost their capabilities when introduced to Blight's Will, but Tempo, she didn't lose her powers when she was introduced to Blight's Will. It made her powers go off the rails to the point it almost seemingly boosted her power as opposed to negating it. This is a huge deal because Blight's Will is going to be one of the big weapons that Orchis uses against mutant kind. They were even planning to use Blight's Will to poison Krakoa. So the idea that Tempo could use Blight's will to recreate the exact same effect that sent them from Earth 616 to Earth 63 in the first place is not really a surprise, but it is still something I think is very interesting that I wonder if it's going to be focused on at any point later, that Blight's will was actually useful to mutants instead of being harmful. And with everything that's happened on Earth 63, while Tempo is able to get Bishop and herself back to Earth 616 just in time to stop the Fenris twins, I don't think we're done with Earth 63 because we still have the Lucas Bishop of that universe who was not a warrior soldier. He was a teacher, a professor. He was a pacifist. He was a guy who didn't believe in war. We now see that at the end of this, with the Earth 616 Bishop and Tempo having gone back to their realities, it's revealed that he is starting to realize that maybe our Bishop was right, that he's going to try and learn how to become a fighter, having the Earth 63 version of magic train him into becoming a better fighter. And while we don't really know what's going to happen with Tempo going forward, I think we're going to wind up seeing that Earth's version of Heather Tucker come over to Earth 616 at some point, because while Tempo was robbed of her father and a second opportunity to be with that father yet again, you also got to keep in mind she robbed the Earth 63 version of Heather Tucker of the opportunity of being with her father in his dying moment. And we'll probably see the Earth 616 Heather Tucker as the reason why her father is no longer alive. So we may very likely see a very angry Earth 63 Dr. Heather Tucker sometime in the near future. I say that because when we last see Tempo in this issue, she has a very knowing look on her face. Now, one could attribute this to the grief of losing her father for a second time, but something tells me she knows that the ripple effect of what she's done is not going to go unnoticed. Beyond all of that, the rest of this issue pretty much kind of plays out with the takedown of the Fenris twins, who are trying to infiltrate the pit and unleash Sabretooth and all the rest of the mutants who have been trapped down there. But as I've talked about in the previous videos for this, Sabretooth's not down there. If you've been keeping up with his solo series or Sabretooth in the Exiles, in each of those stories, Sabretooth is not in the pit anymore. He's out roaming around in the real world. Not only that, most of the mutants who were put in the pit are not there anymore. So Sabretooth isn't down there, neither are Oya or Necra or Madison Jeffries, Third Eye, Melter, Toad, Orphan Maker, Nanny. None of them are down there. Neither are Nature Girl or Curse. When Nature Girl and Curse were exiled to the pit in the X-Men Unlimited X-Men Green story arc, they were paroled from the pit in secret by Cypher and Krakoa itself. So they're not down there either. The only mutant that's down there is Mr. Sinister. Now, this could be a huge deal because now that the Fenris twins are in the pit, they could potentially align with Sinister, though I don't know how that's going to play out because Sinister isn't crazy about the Fenris twins on any level. He literally seems to be disgusted by the presence of Nazis next to him in the pit. So it's safe to say they're not going to be working together to bust their way out. However, there is still the issue that Moira McTaggart knows about the pit, that Orcus now has detailed information about where exactly it is, how it works, how to infiltrate it, and get someone out of it. And while she doesn't get to unleash Sabretooth and the Exiles or any dangerous mutants, on the world, she does get to put the narrative out there that those mutants are out in the wild, that Krakoa supposedly had jailed their own and didn't even keep tabs on where they are, that these mutants are now running roughshod all over the world, even though technically we know they're not really doing anything particularly dangerous to humankind, at least for most of them. I can't vouch for what Sabretooth, Nature Girl, and Curse are doing right now on their own. However, I do feel like Moira will use this opportunity to reach into the pit and unleash the Fenris twins and Sinister during the Hellfire Gala, and that will be bad news for everyone. Now, another thing that pops up in this issue too is, the whole point of this was Bishop was trying to train the next generation of Krakoa's defenders. This was why he was training characters like Surge, Armor, Cam Long, and Ara Charles, and Amass, and Wrong Slide, and they all passed with flying colors. While some passed a little bit more than others, I do appreciate that Bishop takes these opportunities to point out how these characters should be on the X-Men, that they deserved to be on the team, but for one reason or another were passed up on. Bringing up that Armor was up for the role of being an X-Man twice during the X vote and lost both times and hoping that a third time be the charm, probably hinting at the fact that the next time we do the X vote, Armor will just be on the team. She won't be a part of the X vote. She'll just be voted on by the rest of Krakoa. At least that's a hope that I have. And maybe the same could be said for Surge, but I like the idea that these characters like Cam Long and R. Charles are actually being treated as though they could potentially be the next step for the X-Men. Not saying they will, but I don't think they're going away anytime soon. And of course, we get the reveal of who Bishop's next class is. Now whether this is a tease that Jay Holtham and Sean Damian Hill will be back for another round of Bishop War College is another story altogether. However, I do like the idea of the next class that he's putting together. I'm not terribly familiar with every character that he showcases as being a part of his next class. Some of them look familiar, or I kind of want to assume are certain characters that I might be more familiar with. I'm only going to point out a couple of particular ones, those being the characters of Gimmick from Vita Ayala's Children of the Atom, who out of all of those normal humans who were pretending to be mutants, Gimmick was the only one who actually was a mutant, and her power was the ability to shapeshift. So when that character had transitioned over to being on Krakoa and then has kind of disappeared, I was kind of wondering, well, what's going to happen with this character? Now we know that she hasn't been forgotten about. She is still out there, on the island and potentially going to be a part of the next War College. We also see a character by the name of D-Cell, who is from Fabian Nicieza's Juggernaut miniseries, and as her name would imply, she has the ability to manipulate gravity and more specifically to slow things down. I don't know about the rest of them. I'm pretty sure somebody probably recognizes at least one of the other three, but I'm curious to see where that goes if the War College will return. I hope it does. I'll admit to not having been particularly interested in the idea of Bishop War College because I wasn't really sure exactly how it was going to play out. It also didn't help that the first artwork I saw of Bishop War College was the Rob Liefeld cover, so that probably didn't do this comic any favors, but it did turn out to be a really awesome story, so I want to see more by Jay Holtham and Sean Damian Hill in this regard. I want to see them come back to this at some point. But anyways, that's everything I want to talk about with Bishop War College number 5. If you enjoyed this video, do the YouTube thing, like, share, comment, subscribe, and make sure you tap that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the videos that I put out. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, let me know what you thought about Bishop War College number 5 and the series as a whole. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.